everyone, before we get to this amazing episode where we break down the keys to longevity and why movement is so important, give the show a like and subscribe to the channel so that the algorithm knows we exist and will help more people get this amazing content. So do that. And now let's get to the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to another amazing episode of The Power of Progress. Today we have an amazing guest. Chris Wilson joins the show, who is a lifelong fitness and health advocate with nearly 25 years of experience in the fitness industry. Chris has worked alongside and learned from leaders in the industry such as Charles Poliquin, mentor and friend Ben Prentice, and three-time world champion powerlifter Lloyd Weinstein, four-time Mr. Olympia Jay Cutler, and many more. Chris oversees the Strong by Design podcast show, as well as the Critical Bench YouTube channels with over 1 million subscribers and 4,000 videos. Chris, welcome to the show today.
What's up, Scott? Great to be here, man. Thank you.
I love it. So we're gonna hop right in. I want people to get to know you a little bit. So maybe give us, I kind of gave everyone a little taste of your background, but you've been in fitness for 25 years. I have been alive for all of 30. So I mean, there's a lot to learn today. So maybe give us kind of just maybe how you got started and why is this such like a passion for you?
Yeah. Looking at obviously at my backdrop, you might think I'm some kind of like superhero collector, and that's all I do for a living. But no, go.
This is only part time. That's part-time.
This is just a fun hobby, yeah, and it creates a fun backdrop and talking point. But obviously, I've been interested in muscle building and physical performance since I was a young kid, having two older brothers and wanting to be just like them. And every little kid wants to be like their older sibling, and on some level. And so trying to fast forward my way there was just, hey, lift weights, get stronger, and have more success on the field of play, whatever that was for sports. And that just that passion stayed with me all through high school as I saw myself getting into better shape and stronger. And I like the acknowledgement of it. I like the way it made me feel. I always felt, being stronger is better than the alternative.
Yeah.
And that continued right through college, where I was probably in my best shape ever, in that 18 to 22 year period. And then I landed after working for some world gyms and learning from powerlifter Lloyd Weinstein, who you had mentioned, who's just an amazing human being and an amazing powerlifter. I ended up landing a job working with Ben Prentice up in the southwest corner of Connecticut, and got exposure to men like Charles Poliquin, who had this long history of massive success working with high-level athletes. And I was as green as they come, in those early 20s, and just trying to gain some experience and some knowledge. And but I think my strong point, or my strength, was always just my enthusiasm for movement and exercise. And I would never put myself at like on a pedestal when it comes to my physique or the strength I attained. It was always more of, I think my strength was always delivering the passion and enthusiasm about staying fit and strong to clients, men and women of all ages, and just being a kind of a lightning rod. And that just stuck with me all those years, from those early 20s up to where I am now in my late 40s, married and kids. I've maintained a love and a passion for what I know to be true, is that movement just makes life better. The more dynamically we can move our body, and the more we focus on strength training, men or women, the better we are mentally, and of course, obviously physically. I just got done with a conversation just today with a internal medicine doctor talking about the best habits for your aging brain. And one of them, of course, is muscle mass. Mm-hmm. The more muscle mass you're able to have as you get older, the better you are cognitively. major connection there. And that's all I've, in my last few years of learning more about the brain and the brain's impact, or the impact of exercise on the brain, I should say. It's really just, it just falls right in line with all the things I've been practicing and preaching for the last couple decades. And I've seen in real time and real experiences what it's done for people all ages, and certainly older people. My God, it's really fun to watch what exercise and strength training can do for people, certainly older.
Absolutely. So over the course, I'm assuming you kind of fell into your niche over the course of kind of, working with all these different, just top people in the fitness industry. What would you say your niche is when it comes to, giving out advice, your expertise? Like what is it that you specialize in?
Well, I would say it's morphed or changed over that length of time. I would say from probably the late 90s to say the late 2000s. I would say right then and there, I would say my emphasis was really on functional training. Like how do these exercises that I'm going to implement with this client make their life better based on what they are doing in their life, what their interests are and their hobbies. And then I would say probably a 10-year period after that, it started to become a little bit more about, from like say 2008 or 9, I started working with an older clientele, and I would say it became even more so about longevity and about the impact on our brains. So it kind of, I would say, just kind of was like an evolution of going from just, like functionally being strong in life to like life extension, life prevention or fall prevention, and just cognitive wellness. Like, because all of us, I think, want our brains to be, optimized and working as well as they possibly can as we get older. And I think it's also because I've gotten older. And so I try to stay a little ahead of things. Like if I'm 47, I should probably be doing this, and this. If by the time I get to 57, that I'm at a certain level of health.
So, functional movement's great. Obviously longevity is another kind of aspect that you touched on there. I think those are very underrated aspects of the fitness industry. Most of the time, you can expect someone to say, I want to have a 6-pack abs. I want to lose 20 pounds.
Good.
Well, okay. I don't need to embarrass anyone here with mine, but if you're watching, like, I'm not sure why the lighting is going in and out over here. It must be a sun thing, but anyway, so just part of the journey.
Alien spacecraft.
I don't know. Like you can see it's going in and out. There's nothing going on here, so I'm like, okay. So anyway, so apologies, everyone's watching. I don't know what to do about it. We're just gonna have to deal with it. But longevity is something that we don't talk about and no one thinks about, and it's so vitally crucial. And I love that you said it, because we're gonna go into kind of longevity, getting started, all those different things, because you really, at the end of the day, all things considered, obviously, if you want to lose weight, that's important. If you want to be healthy, that's important. But the idea of living a high quality life and having a good, that's good for longevity is just like not talked about. People are so focused on aesthetics and so focused on weight loss and so focused on all those things that even when they get there, it's like, okay, they haven't even thought about changing how they do things for longevity. So in your experience, and I'm going to go very specific here, are there any exercises that you did previously, like, oh, I love doing this, and you realize that, these exercises are good for maybe muscle building and having, an average size bicep. But what are some muscle groups? What are some exercises that you can do that are more functionally oriented, and something you probably wouldn't do because they're not really functionally oriented?
Yeah. It's funny because obviously the name of the business I work for is Critical Bench, right? And we started very niche as a bench press platform. We were selling and creating individualized bench press programming for people. And I would say, that's definitely one of those exercises that's more for the young person. When I say that, I say it because it's about the numbers and how much, right? It's how much weight can you bench, and what's your bench,
Yeah,
and what's your
yeah,
bench, bro, and all that stuff.
yeah. Not
Which is
high.
still, I'm not saying that exercise still has massive value as you get older. It's just how much weight you're working with has far less. The risks start to outweigh the benefits.
Mm, okay.
The motion itself is very beneficial, but you can pretty much with either a pair of dumbbells or just push-ups have the same amount of impact when manipulated, depending on how you're doing those
Oh,
exercises, to deliver the same type of response to the muscles.
so you're saying barbell bench press is something
Yeah.
that
So right, like
okay.
your three big lifts, right? Your as all the power lifters, your barbell bench, your barbell deadlift, and your barbell squat. Those are great. And I highly recommend them and I still did them with people, but it's like I did variations most often with them, or seriously downplayed how much load you were working with more of an emphasis on form and technique for
Mm,
safety
okay.
reasons, obviously. But I mean, what I was alluding to earlier when I talked about like the functional training and stuff, I mean, things that I was starting to implement into my own training that I was doing with people in their 50s and 60s, that in just showing them, I was like, man, this is challenging for me. And I'm like 30. And like to bend over with a dumbbell in one hand on one leg and like just like bend over to do like a single leg deadlift into like basically like a clean into a press. Like I would argue that has more benefit than probably 50 other everyday exercises that people are doing, like typical standard bodybuilding exercises. Like most people fall into a bodybuilder's regimen when they're at the gym, and they're not bodybuilders. They're not trying to get on stage. They know like I should probably push some stuff and pull some stuff and pick some stuff up, but they follow like a Lee Haney freaking bodybuilding program from like the 1980s, when really what they should be following is maybe some of that in their training, but with also an emphasis on how can I improve my balance? How can I connect, how can I connect the chain better with a certain exercise? How can I incorporate more posterior exercises that will help me with my posture and standing taller, and less emphasis on every dude in the gym is doing curls. It's like, dude, do more back work than like direct bicep work. If you want bigger arms, you can work with
Bro.
heavier loads doing more back exercises and still have great impact on your biceps. So I think, we all it's really easy for the beginner or the novice to see what other people are doing when they walk into a facility and just immediately adopt someone else's program, because they're like, well, that guy looks good, he has a nice physique, I'm just going to do what he's doing. But meanwhile, it doesn't really transfer very well to their lifestyle, their desires. That's the benefit of working with a professional, even for a short period of time, to develop a program that's thoughtful and really matches nicely with what the person's goals are. And not just kind of picking random stuff
Yeah.
because, oh, I like these exercises personally as the trainer, so you're going to do these exercises that I like, rather than like, what do you want to accomplish in your life? Oh, you play tennis, we should probably do more stuff like this. Oh, you golf, okay, we should probably do more trunk rotation stuff and stuff to enhance these muscles. So, and I think that's where a lot of younger trainers go wrong, is they go with the shiny toy exercises, the stuff they just learned, rather than what's most beneficial to the client.
Okay, so you gave us the three, right? So barbell, bench, deadlift, and squatting, which I basically cut out my entire routine already, which is good for me. So what are some things that you would have people do? And you said do dumbbells, do cables, do body weight stuff.
Yeah.
What are some other exercises you would have people be like, this is a top 5 like movement functional exercise that's going to help you create a higher quality of life? What would you have people do? Give me like
Yeah.
1 or 2 exercises.
Right out of the gate, I would say learn how to do a kettlebell swing.
Really? A
And
kettlebell
yeah,
swing.
right
Very
out of the gate.
technical. Okay.
Yeah, it is, but it isn't. There's just there's simple themes that it's about the hip hinge.
Yes.
And if you can just do a hip hinge, it makes all of your lifts better. Um, you know, and it's posterior chain driven, and it encourages an explosive element, but with really very safe. And I'm talking a Russian kettlebell swing, not an American kettlebell swing, which ends up over your head. And it's like, I think it's a god awful exercise. I hate it. It's a CrossFit stupid swing that doesn't make any sense. Don't get me going. So a real swing should end with the bell just out in front of you,
Like
out in front of the chest, with your arms not really being a factor. Your arms are just holding on to the bell. Okay. It's a pendulum motion that's like the shape of a J, but when you can just working on it, it just automatically you're hitting your hamstrings, your glutes, your lower back. You're packing your shoulder. Like there's so many good benefits to the total body, just trying to get the swing down. So I highly recommend that. A second exercise, totally off your radar, you're not even thinking of this exercise. I know it. I'm psychic.
No way.
Is a weighted carry. I think the weighted carry is one of the most underrated exercise. When I say weighted carry, I mean either holding weight at your sides, holding
farmer's
weight
carry.
A farmer's carry could be one.
I was like, yeah,
you could call a rack carry, or you could call it a waiter's carry, or an overhead carry. I think that's one of the most underrated, most functional exercises that's out there. That's safe. It encourages walking, which is always good. Walking is the number one form of exercise in the world, and you can't even argue it. And secondly, what it does is it puts load on your person, on your body, and it loads all your joints. You're loading your entire body. You're loading your ankles, your knees, your hips, your elbows, your wrists, your shoulders. Everything's loaded, and you have to maintain perfect posture no matter what the carry is. So anytime, for me, you can do an exercise that encourages standing taller, standing more erect, and firing all the muscle, kind of all the muscles of the body. And really, I call the triangle of strength: the abs, the glutes, and the quads, right? If you're going to take like the three strongest parts of the body, that they create this great triangle of strength, really emanating at the glutes. But so that would be a second best exercise, would be a weighted carry after some type of swing. And then honestly, I really love exercises that encourage grip strength. So I would kind of vie for either some form of a rack pull or deadlift, or in place of that, some type of pull-up.
Pull-up. I'm a big pull-up guy. Love the body weight pull-up. Yes. Huge.
And I know I've left a press out of it, out of my top three. I've left a press out of it, but if you're structurally strong doing a swing, a carry, and some type of pull, you're attacking so much muscle with one exercise, with all three of those, and so much beneficial muscle that just, I think, we have such most people have such a low priority for posterior muscles that they can't see, and more of a focus on the stuff that they can see: their biceps, their chest, their abs, right? Their shoulders, stuff that they see in front of them in the mirror, but you can't see your back, you can't see your butt, you can't see your hamstrings. And so those end up getting kind of shoved to the wayside and performed less. So I think if the emphasis shifts to those other things, people are naturally still going to do some pressing of some sort. So
it's true. No, absolutely.
I love pressing those.
Yeah, I mean, I think, not to, I think people understand, like, pressing is still important. It just, these are three exercises that you may have not thought to do, because pressing is pretty much almost unanimously, everyone's going to do pressing. It's just kind of one of those things. So do it. All we're saying is maybe don't do barbell, maybe do dumbbell, maybe do cable instead, which is probably better for your joints and your movement long term. There's
Yep.
something you said, and I want to touch on it because I don't want to miss this, and it's super important. So you talked about how movement keeps our brains young for the most part, or it helps us cognitively, which helps us create longevity. So there's like a brain balance connection. Can you talk about that? What is that, and why should people care?
Yeah, it's I've done a lot of looking into this over the last couple of years. I had created a balance program some years ago that was really kind of for our older community, the 60 plus, the people that are tripping and falling and really hurting themselves. And I've seen massive benefit from this program. Like, it's benefited people, and I've gotten great feedback from it, how it's really improved their life. But in doing that research, and over the last couple of years doing courses and stuff about the brain, I think it's an area, it's a muscle, if you want to call the brain a muscle for a second. It's a muscle that we don't really think much about while we're training. But notice how you feel when you train. You almost always feel better, right? When you move and you exercise, you push weight or pull weight, or just the mere fact of not sitting in a car for 5 hours. When you get out and walk around, how quickly your mood changes and you feel better. You feel more energized. You feel less lethargic. It's a chemical reaction. It's a hormonal thing that's happening. And there is a lot of science and a lot of data that suggests that, the brain lights up when we move our body. And it's the number one reason we have a brain, is to move. It's not to just sit around thinking about things. The number one function of your brain is to move things internally or externally. Your brain is moving. Everything inside your body is moving at a high rate, right? You're firing messages from your brain through nerves to all parts of the body. Your brain is making your heart force blood through all these veins and arteries and things. And it's a super highway of things happening inside our body. But then, of course, externally, we see, movement of joints and, movement of muscles and flesh and stuff. And that's the number one function of the brain. And when we're idle, when we're sedentary, when we're static, that's when we see a deterioration of the brain, of brain health. We see nothing happening in the brain when we're not moving our body. The brain is very dormant. And the only time that should be really happening is when we're sleeping and resting and recovering and repairing, when our brain is refreshed and able to do kind of maintenance mode and clean things up. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast, is talking about the benefits of good sleep on brain, on your body. But getting back to how does balance kind of play into it, right? Well, I mean, anytime we're vertical and moving, right, we're in some way working on balance. If you think about when you were a baby, you couldn't stand, right?
Oh, just wobbling around.
What'd you do? You kind of rocked and you rolled, and then you went from rocking and rolling to crawling. These are all those primal movements of the body, right? And then you went from crawling to walking, and that took a year or year and a half for you to get to that point. And it was there's a lot of learning going on there. There's a lot of falling that happens. Luckily, we're small and low to the ground, and so we don't really get hurt. But all that while, the first few years of our life, what are we working on? We're working on our ability to balance, and our ability for our brain to send good quality messaging to all parts of our body, to our feet and to our toes and to our legs and our arms and everything, right? And the super highway of nerves and everything that are firing is very strong and very alive and fresh. And what happens is, as we age, and why I have placed such an emphasis on this in my training, or the way I teach and the work that I do over the last several years, is because I think back to all those things I was doing with clients years ago that I saw the most benefit from. And because we were reestablishing those neural connections, we were in essence clearing the highway of debris that was forming and opening up roadways and pathways that had maybe been closed off. So, if you think about your nervous system and the way you're able to fire information from your brain to, like, if you didn't have nerves, like, your muscles not going to do anything, right?
Yeah.
That's you need your nerves. Those are the signalers. Those are the ones that say, hey, like, hey, do this now, act. And the less we engage those, they start to kind of dry up a little bit, or they weaken, or the signals aren't quite what they used to be, right? And if you sit around long enough and don't use body parts dynamically anymore, those pathways, just kind of lose their efficacy. They lose their ability to function and fire as they optimally. And so the more dynamic we are, the more focus on single leg stuff or balance stuff or athletic movement. Don't we all want to just be athletes? I mean, think about it. Don't we all just want to be able to move like we did when we were 10, 15, 20 years old? And then we got this horrible virus of sitting too much that we all catch in our 20s when it's time to adult, and we don't move anymore like we did when we were kids. And we get old. And we get old faster because we stop moving.
Because we're not moving.
So, look at people who are still moving well in their 50s and 60s. They just look younger, don't they? They look younger because they are younger. They're biologically younger because they're continuing to focus on this movement of the body and this balancing act that happens. And when everyone has a grandparent who they've seen, or an older person in their life that they've seen who's not moving like they used to, what do they look like when they get up? They're wobbly, they're unsure, they lack confidence, they have anxiety over stairs, they have anxiety just moving from one room to the next, or they need help, or they need a walking aid. And it's because they started to establish a lifestyle of being sedentary and not moving as much. And so for me, movement is vital to life extension, enjoyment, and without it, we're a shell of ourselves, and that decline is so much more noticeable. And so I don't even feel like I do it justice, like the power of movement on all areas of our life. I know when I sit too much at a desk just for a few hours doing work, like I start to I got to get up, I got to move, I got to get vertical, I got to go for a walk around the building, get some sun, do something, and if I don't get a workout in, in a given day, I'm like, I really feel like I missed something. I missed opportunity. Like, I'm almost frustrated with myself that how did I not just do something for 20 minutes, And
well, the funny part is the mental aspect of that is, yes, your body is, I get this too. I'm like, how did I just sit down for 4 hours at a time without even standing up for 20 minutes? And it's almost because it's almost a comfort factor. Your body's like, hey, like, even though it's not good for you, the body doesn't like change. And so it's like, hey, like, we're comfortable, don't move, it's safe. And then you get up, right. It's, and I don't know what it is, but I do the same thing too. I'm like, how did I not move for the past few hours? And the second I stand up, I feel so much better. I feel a weight has been lifted, or I was in a bad mood. I stand up, take a walk, I feel so much better. So everything you said hits home. But one thing I wanted to kind of push on a little bit was, again, it's movement is a very general term.
Yes.
So what are some things, like, people are thinking, okay, do I have to run? Do I have to rock climb? Do I have to jog? Is it just walking? And if it's so, what is the threshold that I should be looking to hit on a regular basis so that I can create a higher quality life and have better longevity?
Right. No, those are good points to make, and very good. One thing I'll say is that everybody needs to find one thing, an activity of some kind that gets you upright and moving, and God, Lord willing, people listening are able to do that. If you're grounded, if you don't have use of your legs, and you're gonna have to find something that at least get your upper body moving, of course. But if we don't fall in love with something, an activity or a hobby or something that's a physical activity of some degree, then we're doing ourselves a disservice, because everybody can probably have an attraction to one thing or a fondness of one thing, something they really enjoy doing with their body. That could be playing pickleball, that could be playing tennis, that could be going for a hike, that could be a swim, that could be a bike ride. Whatever it is, you enjoy doing it and you'll make time for it. Go all in on that. Go all in on that and try to do it every single day. And even if it's for a limited amount of time, I will say you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that over exercises. Like there are people out there that do it. They go too far. They exercise too much. I would say you just do as much as you possibly can any given day of your life. With that, whatever that activity is. If it's just walking, great. Go outside and walk for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, whatever it is that you're capable of doing personally within your limits, do it. And from what I've found in my research is that the number one form of activity for the human body as we get older and for our brain is something like hiking or close to hiking, because of what hiking offers you. Hiking offers you, obviously, dynamic steps of various length and height and tempo. It fires up your brain because there's a lot of thought that goes into hiking and how you're going to navigate this path.
A lot of people can't hike though. I mean, like you're talking about very select parts. Like I'm in Illinois, there is no hiking in Illinois.
There's like, no hiking. I have hiking in Florida. How do you not have hiking in Illinois?
We are flat. We are flat.
We're pretty flat here. So,
well, in Chicago at least, like there is nowhere, like so.
Right. So an alternative to that, obviously, would just be some form of like nature walk.
Oh,
so
disgusting. Take
you away from a track or a treadmill and go into the outdoors where at least there's still you're still dealing with roots, you're still dealing with rocks. It might be somewhat flat terrain, but there's still the elements that you would be receiving from, say, a vertical hike like you would get in the Appalachians or something like that, where you'd be up and down 1,000 feet elevation in an hour-long hike.
Yeah, which I love hiking. Don't get me wrong. I'm just a lot of people don't have access or physically cannot hike right now, and they're not at the place to hike. So it's like, how do we? Sure. But so just to summarize, basically, find something you want to do, right? And do it. So whether it's tennis, pickleball, softball, football, doesn't matter. It could be walking on a treadmill. If that's what you have, that's what you like to do with whatever Netflix show you're watching. Like as long as you get some sort of movement and then do what you can. The studies I've read show that if you walk for 20 minutes a day, that number one decreases your chance for chronic disease by like 50% or something like that. It's a crazy high number, which I imagine also correlates to increasing the quality of your life and longevity as well. So I think the big takeaway from that is like just move, like figure out what you want to do and try and do it every single day.
Yeah. And purposeful, intentional walking, not, laissez-faire walking like you're going from your bedroom to the bathroom, walking like you're trying to kind of push yourself to, say, like, a 4 mile an hour type walk, something that actually has exertion associated with it, with possibly you're breaking a sweat if you do it for 10 minutes. And I would even say that, Scott, if you 3 times that and went from a 20-minute to a 60 minutes worth of walking, dedicated walking in a day, and that could easily be broken up into 2 or 3 sessions. That could be a dog walk in the morning with your dogs and a dog walk in the evening, or a short stroll around the building where you work at lunch, and then maybe a short walk after dinner, which helps you in so many ways with digestion and circulation. But walking's just like the number one easiest thing that we all can do. And the more you walk, the better you are. And then if you start nipping at some of these other things, like throw in some body weight training, don't smoke, cut out drinking, like all of a sudden your life expectancy or your life quality just goes up tenfold. Once you start eliminating a few bad things and factoring in a couple more good things for your physical well-being. But some form of resistance training, I would say, should be in there. And again, it can just be calisthenics of some kind. It doesn't even need to be with weights. for you to have a good aggressive resistance regimen.
Can strength training take the place of walking? So let's say someone strength trains an hour a day. Does that equivalent to basically walking?
Yeah, I mean, if I would even say, I mean, there's people that I guess, I mean, gee, who are these people that don't like to walk? I mean,
Well,
I'm
you
not
got
talking cardio walking or cardio, these people that are like pumping their arms and stuff. I mean, gosh darn it, walk for God's sake.
Well, I think it's more about the time, right? Like people
Yeah,
don't
no,
have 3 hours to lift for an
no,
hour, then walk for an hour, then shot. I mean, I'm
no.
trying to condense your fitness day into an hour. How do you, what's like the best
Sure.
ratio to kind of push forward?
I would say, yes, I would say if you could walk for 20 to 30 minutes and do 20 to 30 minutes of resistance training in a given day, I would say you're probably already way better than the average person. But you're also like, I mean, gosh, we're given 24 hours in a day. 7 to 8 hours of that is just us sleeping, hopefully. It's probably 5 to 7 hours of that is just sitting in a chair or on a sofa or in your car. And I mean, gosh, if you we have our culture, our country sucks at what we've gone out of our way in this country to remove walking as a necessary function of life, where we could just sit at home and on our computer and make a living and like order groceries to our house. It's like, wow, I don't have to walk if I don't want to today, other than maybe I have to go to the bathroom at some point and I'll walk to the toilet. Like, it really is sad, especially for somebody like me or you who enjoy movement of the body and exercise. It's like, what's the minimal I can do to get the most effect, you know? And it's such a backwards way of thinking. It's like, for me, it's like, what are the things I can do today to make me walk more? Like that's how I think, but I don't think like everybody else.
You'll hate it because Chicago just implemented new scooter system, and so now you can like take a scooter, to a short distance instead of walking to a distance. So that's another.
Of course. And they're fun. I've rented the scooters like out in San Diego and stuff, or gone on like the Segway tours, and like those things are fun. And they're enjoyable, but it's not like everyday function for me. But I mean, listen, I rode the bike a lot when I was a kid. I was on a skateboard a lot as I was a kid. Those things still require a certain amount of aerobic function and stuff, right? So I'm not saying like, being on something with wheels on it is like a bad thing by any means, because usually it's still incorporating some type of like balance skill or hand-eye coordination or something going on there. So that's always good. But yeah, the mere fact of being vertical and moving your own body a certain distance over a certain period of time should never be avoided or downplayed in terms of its significance on an impact on the body. Like, it should always be a goal. It should always be a goal. Like, can I get up 10 or 15 minutes earlier in the day and just go for a walk around my neighborhood? Like, we all can find the time. I'm so tired of excuses that people have. I just don't have time. If there was another hour in my day, oh, shut up.
Like, you wouldn't do anything with it. You'd be watching another hour of TV.
We could give everyone 25 hours a day and they'd still say that they didn't have enough time. Yeah. It's like, go skip the Netflix show or set the alarm an extra 15 minutes earlier in the morning. I mean, come on. A little goes a long way. As you know, less is more. 20 minutes of walking. Oh my gosh, all I got to do is 20 minutes and have a great impact on my body. Yeah, dude. And 20 minutes of strength. Some of my best workouts, and I'm sure you could attest to this, are my shortest ones.
Yeah.
The ones where I took like no rest and I just plowed through like 5, 6, 7 exercises because I was short on time. And I'm like, damn, that was a really good workout, and it has great impact. But it's just, you gotta want it on some level, and you can only inspire and encourage people so much. They eventually have to take a step.
Yeah. So what would be some simple baby steps that people could start taking today to start creating these routines? Because what we know, right? We know, very simply put, that people love the 180 fixes. They love, do this for 2 weeks, lose 100 pounds, be in shape forever. It never works. It's stupid. what are the baby steps that we have to take in
Right.
order to start getting going if we're someone who is very sedentary and we sit all day long? How do we
Yeah.
do it? And we don't work out. What are some easy steps?
Yeah. And baby steps are the right way to go, because massive 180 changes never last, right? It's like
Never.
these really like exclusatory or elimination diets. They're good for like 2 weeks or 4 weeks, but then you go right back where you were. So the smaller the change, the better it is. And then you just stack those little changes on top of each other. So I already, getting up 10 minutes earlier or 15 minutes earlier in the morning, or 20, whatever it is, maybe start with 10. It is a great start. And that could be for whatever it is. That could be for a walk around the neighborhood. That could be doing push-ups and air squats. That could be, following some YouTube video on your TV in your living room with a pair of dumbbells. I mean, that could be anything. We have no excuse anymore with our ability to find a program to follow. Like there is no excuse. There's so much good free content out there. Fitness Blender. I mean, I don't even rep Course Critical Bench. I mean, we have like 5,000 videos on YouTube, for God's sake. So there's a lot of great fitness stuff there. But if you don't like our flavor, there's Fitness Blender, or there's this YouTube channel. There's free workouts you could do, and you'll never do all of them. So if you just gave yourself that extra 10 or 15 minutes in the beginning of the day, or the end of the day, or at lunch, wherever you can squeeze out that time. Some people aren't morning people and they want that sleep. That's fine. Like I say go to bed a little later, but most people aren't going to be working out at 9 or 10 at night. But I would say just start there. Second thing is drink more water. If you just start drinking more water, it's automatically a healthier habit that you've introduced. Your body functions better, your energy level goes up, your cognitive function goes up, you're in a better mood, and you have to go pee more, which means you're going to get up and have to walk more because you're peeing. But automatically, I mean, that's one of the okay, get up 10 minutes earlier, drink more water. Like I can do those two things like without even really trying very hard. If you just did those two things for 30 days straight, you'll see massive changes. You'll probably lose 5 pounds without even changing your diet at all, because you moved a little bit more by getting up a little earlier and you drank more water. You're going to lose 5 pounds of fat. I almost guarantee it. And then maybe a third thing I would say would be, I don't know. I mean, I'm really big with probably removal of something that's hindering you or holding you back. And so that could probably be something that you're eating or consuming, either food or beverage in your day, that's probably later, say after dinner. And I would say if you could make a swap there, or cut something out, probably a swap first before you cut it out. So you take something that's sugary and you swap it with something that's just a better option. I would say that would be like your third thing for like improving your physique, improving your health, improving the way you look and feel, would be that. It's just like a habit exchange, if you will, or a swap. So if there's people that like that, like to have a certain treat, a bowl of ice cream, let's say at night, but maybe they're just as satisfied with something else that gives them that same satisfaction. And I remember one of our coaches that was here, we had a Q&A session with a bunch of kids that came for a visit to our facility. And she says, sometimes just a tablespoon of a peanut butter or an almond butter with maybe an almond milk or, something else that was like had a creamy kind of feel to it. It gave you that same satisfaction as if you had something bad for you that isn't really bad for you. So, and that could be something like crunchy. Ooh, I love crunchy peanut butter. I'll have a big tablespoon of that with like a small glass of, cashew milk or almond milk, or, even regular milk, for that matter. And at least you're getting something that's fairly low in sugar, higher in fat, and a good amount of protein. And right there, you're still getting those calories, you're still getting that fix, but it's just long term is going to play out much better for you health wise. So I think those three things would be my kind of quick baby step like, how do I get better? How do I look better? How do I feel better?
Awesome. I love it. Chris, tell people where they can find you.
Oh, geez, they can find us, our what we're doing over here, the Strong by Design podcast. If you just type that in, whatever podcast you obviously you're listening to Scott's. Maybe you'd like another podcast that's health and fitness related. Strong by Design podcast.com is a great spot for that, or anywhere on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. And then I always put out our YouTube channel as a great resource because we have so much content on the main channel, especially. It's almost at 4,000 videos on that one. And then we have like another 1,000 on our secondary shorts channel, the Critical Bench Compound. So between those two channels, so many great free nutrition insights and workouts and exercise instruction. I mean, there's really nothing we haven't touched on. And so Critical Bench on YouTube, and you'll never see all of the videos. I'm in a lot of them, but not so much in the last couple of years because we've brought on younger, fitter, more more attractive coaches. But there was a time when I fell into that category, not so much anymore.
Awesome. All those links will be in the show notes, so you guys can all take a look and head over to there. Any final thoughts?
Oh my gosh, just fall in love. Like we said earlier, just fall in love with whatever it is that you're doing when it comes to physical activity of the body, physical movement. If you're in love with it, if you enjoy it, I take this as my last sentiment. In college, we lived next door to an older couple, Ed and T, and they had been married for over 60 years, and several days a week they still went to go play tennis together. And they were just had great attitudes. They were great people. They were still moving in life and felt like they were having fun and moving. And if it's fun for you, you won't stop doing it. So, maybe think about the things that brought you joy and fun when you were 8, 10, 12 years old, and try to do that activity again, or some form of it.
I love it, Chris. Thank you so much today for joining the show.
It's been great. Thank you so much, Scott. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it.